Hello folks and welcome back. Thanks for joining me. This is an update video, so there's a bunch of news to share with you, a bunch of new items, new projects. I know I've got unfinished old projects, but yeah, that just seems to be the way things happen around here. So let's get cracking and I'll start showing you what's been going on. Rusty, come on, come up here, come on. So this is item number one. This is Rusty the dog, and he's 5 years old, we think, and he's a Kelpie. He's a rescue. He was a farm dog, but he's way too lazy to be a farm dog. And you can just see on his arm here, he's had a bit of fur shaved off so that he can have an IV. And he's had his operation 2 days ago. So look to the camera. And yeah, he's lovely. But he's basically a full-time job. He acts like a puppy, even though he's 5. He's never lived in a house or been house trained, so we've been starting from scratch with him. But yeah, he's good, and we've had to teach him how to play with toys. Look over here! Look over here! Look over here! Anyway, let's move on to the next item. Say woof. Say woof. Good boy. Good boy. Right, our next item is from Mark Presling. Now, I think I know what this is, but let's have a look. This is a knife from Bill. Bill is starting a YouTube channel soon, and he's going to show his knife making on there. So I'm going to give him a shout out. I'm going to give him a shout out when the time comes and he puts his first video out. Because he's a great knife maker and he's a good friend of mine. And yeah, I think you'd enjoy his humour. So can we see that? Yes. So there's a letter here. Cool, lots of information. Nice letter from Mark. This is very cool. Thank you, Mark. This is a Touch-DRO. Now I don't know if you've seen Mark's channel. Some of these have escaped. I don't know if you've seen Mark's channel, but he's received a number of these boards from Yuri's Toys. And it's a Bluetooth, it's an ESP32 based. I don't know if you're into electronics or not, but an ESP32 is this module here. In fact, I've got more of them for other purposes right here. But that's the brains of it, basically, one of those. And it's a general purpose microcontroller that you can put software on and do whatever you like with it. Now this fellow Yuri's Toys has made this into, using software, he's made it into something that can read from a DRO system. And there's a set of laser cut panel parts here. These are laser cut from acrylic by the looks of it. And these covers will peel off. I won't do it now because I want to preserve the scratch-free appearance, but yeah, they do come off. But basically there's a whole stack of parts there for an enclosure, and there's a little CNC milled what do they call that again? Die bond, I think. Aluminium and plastic and aluminium. Trying to get that to show up. That's lovely. I think Mark's milled that on his CNC by the looks of it. But yeah, this little thing is basically a little board with an ESP32 on it, and this one reads quadrature scales. So there's four pins come back, and you can sort of measure the out of phase measurements, the out of phase signals that come back from a glass scale. and work out position and keep a track of where position is, and then send the results to a Bluetooth display, which is generally an Android tablet or a phone, and have a DRO that's wireless, Bluetooth, and where you can update the software on it. Those DRO heads have firmware, but I don't think anybody's reverse engineered them. They just do what they do, and that's it. But yeah, this is eminently hackable. You could mod this and work on this to your heart's content if you're at all interested in programming. And there's a little hardware kit here. These look like DB9 connectors, which are like the old serial connectors. So yeah, this is a future project, and this was a gift from Mark Presling. Mark Presling had a bunch of these. He got them from Yuri's Toys, and he's very, very kindly shared them with a few people that are interested in putting them to use. And I'd like to put mine to use on my MCO lathe. I've got the little MCO V10P, which is something I showed on the channel a bit last year. This time last year, actually, I got it and it was in a pretty sorry state, and I cleaned everything, and I've got to the stage of needing to machine a new motor pulley, and basically it's been put on the back burner at that point. No good reason, just that other things came along and stole the spotlight. So yeah, when I get back to that, which will be soon, these will be part of that build. I'll order up some glass scales and we'll wire this and house it, and it'll be great to have DRO on the lathe. I've never had a DRO on the lathe. So thanks, Mark, really appreciate it, and you'll see this in a future video. And thanks, Yuri, also, of course, for sending them to Mark in the first place. So cheers. Now, if you know of Emma's Spare Room Machine Shop channel, Emma's dad passed away a couple of weeks ago, and which is a very sad thing. He was a lifelong machinist, and part of the work that Emma had to do was go to his place and clear his workshop. That workshop is here in Tasmania, and Emma's up in Queensland. So as soon as she said she was coming down, I said, I'll be there, I'll try and help you. Even if it's just take away the things you're trying to give away for free. But it turns out I went down there, went with Bill, and went with Tom another day, or met Tom there another day. And yeah, Will took some things, Will bought some items and helped Emma with clearing the place. And while I was there with Tom shared with me, I'm proud, I think I'm the first person to display these publicly. Definitely the first person to receive them. But Tom's new stickers, Tom Make Here and Was Make Here. Awesome. Thank you, Tom. I've been waiting for, I don't know, a couple of years since we first talked about you getting some stickers. And he mentioned that he was going to have a channel name change and that kind of thing. And then the idea of the second channel came along. So the stickers are obviously, they come after all that. But yeah, I'm very happy to get some of those stickers. I love his channels. If you haven't seen the Was Make Here channel particularly, he's only got one video on there, and it's a restoration of a vise, but it's not your ordinary restoration. He goes to extreme lengths and remachining and all this kind of stuff. And if you like my channel, you're going to definitely like his channels. So yeah, give them both a go. And yeah, he's a bit of an inspiration. I need to pull my socks up and catch up with him. Cheers, Tom. These will go on the sticker board, and yeah, hopefully you might get a couple of subscribers from my shout out for you. While I was there and I was with Tom, I took delivery of this, which is a small bending brake. It's just a small gauge, you know, a thin capacity, 600mm or 24-inch finger brake or box and pan brake, and these parts are removable to allow the sides to be of a box to be bent up, that kind of thing. It's got a couple of eccentrics here that allow you to adjust the back set between these bending dies and the edge of the casting. You've also got turnbuckles here that allow you to control the clamp thickness, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I got this off Tom. Tom bought it a while ago. He didn't really find that it was big enough for the kinds of work he was doing. It really is a light gauge machine. It's not a very heavy thing. It's really just for small fabrications, and you know, as long as you don't expect too much from it, it should be fine. Yeah, I bought this off him a number of weeks ago using primarily some money from YouTube. So thank you everybody that sits through the ads. I really appreciate that, and it goes towards buying some things like this. So thanks Tom for the good deal you gave me, and thanks viewers for watching the ads. Now this is the main thing I brought from Emma when I was there, or from Emma's dad. It's a tool and cutter grinder, and it's a BM450A type. The brand of this one is D Shin Ironworks, which is a Taiwanese factory, and yes, it has a table that can slide forwards and backwards and be locked in position using these T-slots, and it has a spindle head, this piece here, with a spindle, an adjusting angle here, and a motor and a belt drive, and that whole thing can pivot around this column with angle measurements here. I believe the height is adjustable with a hand wheel that goes on the top. It has provision for a coolant system. It has the bucket and the pipe work, but there's no motor, so I'd have to provide my own motor. The table is a little bit like a lightweight mill table. It has a rapid feed left and right, so it could be used for small surface grinding jobs, and it has a Y-axis which allows it to travel on a dovetail that's parallel to these. There's a tailstock and an indexing head and a drill bit piece and an arbor or a mandrel for slitting saws. There's a helical flute follower thing, about 30 wheels, and yeah, basically I got all of this for a very good price from Emma, so I'm really grateful, Emma. This will be cleaned up, brought back to life, preserved and used, and put in my new grinding room when I get that done. I'm very happy about this, and having some even basic sort of low precision surface grinding capability is going to be really cool, and of course the tool grinding is going to be super useful for every kind of cutting tool in here. I'm looking forward to being able to set up some of these thinner blades and redo my table saw blades and that kind of thing. Yeah, I've got a real selection of wheels, all the way from thin stuff to cup wheels to diamond wheels to these, which I think are for saw blades. Yeah, just a big range, and I'm really very happy. I really don't need another project, and this needs a good clean, as you can see, but yeah, I'm grateful that I've got it for a great price, and looking forward to sort of adding the capability to the workshop. So thanks again. And here's something else that came from Emma. This was actually a gift, which I'm amazed. It's a brilliant gift. It's a heat treatment forge, or a light small blacksmithing forge. It's all steel, and it's probably 3/4 complete, I would say. A lot of the things that I couldn't do, that I'm not equipped to do, like these bends, are done. A lot of the smaller parts, like making the burners and so on, are not yet done, but that's something that I'm capable of. So this is 22 inches, I think, and it's sized to have a 6x6 square door in each end. And the book is this one. It's Gingery, or Gingery, I don't know, David J. Gingery Publishing, written by these fellows, William T. Goodman and Robert W. Holmes. And that's a picture of how the forge will look at the end. It runs on LPG, or liquid propane, which is just gas bottle, barbecue gas bottle. Now, Emma talked about there being some kind of electronics, which might be that box under my fingertip, but it's certainly got a double burner and doors each end. It needs to be filled with refractory, and or fire bricks and or KO wool. Not quite sure yet. But yeah, the book is Atmospheric Forge and Heat Treat Oven. And it's a good book. There's lots in here. I can't show you the whole thing, obviously, but can't show you any of it at this stage. But there's lots of detail. And this was something that Emma's dad had started to build and obviously ran out of time. So this, I'm going to take this and finish it. It needs a post and a base, and I'd like it to be on wheels, I think, with somewhere for the gas bottle to sit. This stuff here is supposedly the refractory. Now, I don't know whether it's any good. Perhaps you can tell me. I've never used this stuff before, but it seems fairly hard and fairly crumbly, but I don't know if it ever sets, or maybe it can only set with heat. I don't know. Perhaps it just needs some moisture to bring it back to life. Perhaps you could answer below if you know anything about this stuff. But there's a whole big block of it there, and that's probably enough to do the job. I have half a dozen of the thin hard fire bricks, and I'd be more than happy to use them in this project and buy more if I need to, and use this refractory as a kind of mortar between the bricks, and then maybe coat them in more refractory if there's more left. But this would be very handy for hardening and tempering steel, be handy for annealing steel, be handy for doing small crucible pours from aluminium, if I want to make any cast parts for models or tools or whatever. Yeah, just a brilliant, useful tool to have in the workshop. So thank you, Emma. This is an awesome gift, and yeah, another project on the list. This is something else I bought. This is a piece of steel, and I bought this from Emma, and it's 25mm thick plate, and it's about 1200-ish on a side, more or less square. There is some to come off this side though, just to sort of turn it into a rectangle. It'll probably be 1200 by 1100 when that's done. And this material here is steel RHS, or rectangular tube, and that's going to become stretchers that go around the bottom. And this is going to be a welding tabletop. And I'll pan the camera, or tilt the camera up. Please excuse the workshop, it's actually not too bad from that shot. But this material here, the silver uprights, that is enough material to make the upright legs, 100 by 100 square hollow tube, square hollow section. So that's going to be 4 legs. The material I showed you down here is going to be stretchers, and we're basically going for the same design of frame as I've got on my table saw, on my workbench. So it's going to be a very heavy, squarish steel table for fabricating. That piece of plate weighs about 300 kilograms, 300 to 350, which in old money is about 700 pounds, something like that. So it's quite a lump, and it's quite hard to move until you get it onto a pallet. But yep, another future project. Well, I hope you can see that. This is the shaper in its current state. It's been cleaned up, and all of the ways and all of the active surfaces, all of the precise surfaces at least, have been de-rusted using small brass brushes like this. That's a new one. And WD-40 like this. And it takes a lot more effort to clean rust with brass, I find. It takes a lot more time, and it's very easy to damage the brush, so it's just a real waiting game, a real patience thing, and you just keep scrubbing, and it does eventually come clean. But the reason I wanted to use that was so that I'm not abrading any of these surfaces. It's quite possible to use Scotch-Brite to do it more quickly, but these are abrasive, and you are removing steel when you use them. Probably not enough to worry about, but I just want to try and do it the right way. I did use the precision stones that I got from Carl on these sliding ways and these tables and things, and that is a really useful tool. It's a measuring tool as much as anything, because as you move the stones over here, you feel an area that drags, and you know you have a high point, and you can feel when that high point has gone because it doesn't drag anymore. And that's a really useful tool. It's a measuring tool and a correcting tool all in one. And because those stones are so flat, when you're on a flat surface, you'd need 100 tons of pressure to put enough force on there to take a cut. But when you're talking about a little pip that's 1 millimetre square versus the size of the stone, well, then it cuts it with ease. It just decapitates it. And when you hit a surface with, say, a punch, if I did a centre punch mark in here now, what you end up with is that kind of volcano shape. The point goes here, the displaced material goes to the sides, and you end up with a ring, if you look at it from the top, of displaced material, and the stones will take that off completely. And so what you end up with is a collection of high points that are all coplanar, and yes, there are some low points, but they're not important at all. The part that you put on here is set on the high points. So those stones are worth their weight in gold, and they're a very, very useful tool if you can get some, or if you have someone with a surface grinder, or you want to make some, or whatever. I really recommend it. They're a great tool. So thanks again, Carl. That's come in really handy. That's been used on all of the ways and all of the precise parts on this shaper. I'm going to do a more detailed video of this shaper because I still am yet to install the motor. I've got to do a little bit of work on the pulley at the back, opposite corner, but then we're ready to get this together and do some test cuts. When I was at Emma's, I specifically bought some tool steel that's sized for this machine, 3/4 by 3/4, and a couple of probably 5/8, and yeah, they're a bit grubby, but they'll be ideal. They'll be ideal for this machine. I did have a bunch of this stuff, and then I packaged it up and sent it away and gave it to somebody because it was too big for my lathe. But yeah, I managed to buy some. So we've got some tool. We'll have some tool steel for the shaper. Very cool. Now there's a local viewer and friend of mine called Ian, who gave me some Black Heart sassafras, and I'll just scoot the camera up like this. In here you see some long lengths and also some short lengths. I had some sassafras already, and I've basically been given, I think it was last year, been given another bunch of sassafras by Ian, and that was when I first met him, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm going to make a nice bed or something out of it at some point soon. So thanks, Ian. But Ian came back to me just recently and said, I've got some stuff for your clean room. And I got very excited, obviously. And this is the first of those things. This is a comparator, an optical comparator. And the way it works is there is a light in here, and you put something small that you want to project here. It goes through a lens, and at the back is a reflector or a mirror, and it's projected up onto this opaque screen. So what you see is an enlarged silhouette of whatever is here. Now there's a stage here that allows you to move things in this direction, which would be a focusing effect. And this thing has a height adjust that allows you up and down, so that you're looking at the right portion of the part. And Ian has actually just messaged me a day or two ago saying he's found some more parts for the stage for this thing. So that's awesome. I'm going to go and collect those at some point soon. And there's also 3 lenses for this. There's 3 different powers. I think it might be 10 and 20 and 50 times, something like that, or maybe 10 and 30 and 50. So this is a very old school machine, very cool. It's going to be very good for looking at things like thread profiles, trying to identify parts that are too small to see. You could do this with a microscope, But the beauty of this machine is that you can use an acetate or a clear transparency on this surface that's marked with things like angles and calibrated distance measurements and all of this kind of thing. And I've got a laser printer here, and I'm going to buy some of the laser printer compatible transparency sheets, and I'm going to use Inkscape, which is a program I'm involved with. It's a graphics program, to draw some of the lined backgrounds and transparencies that I think this machine needs. And then I can clip them to the machine using these spring clips, and I can sort of align one line and find out the angle of a thread, see if it's a Whitworth or a UNC or a metric or whatever, and that kind of thing. I may end up doing an LED bulb conversion on this because it's got quite a yellow bulb, and I think when you're at high powers especially, you really benefit from more light. And basically with LED you can get more light for a given amount of heat and power input. So you get more lumens out for what's in. So yeah, LED is just going to be a better bet, and make some transparencies for this. And then we've got a beautiful optical comparator, which will be very useful. Now this is made in England by Hilger and Watts, and I was made in England too, so we know it must be good. This is the last thing to show you today. This is an Ernst Lights mini load hardness tester, micro hardness tester. This is the same lights that later was split off into the Leica camera company. They do, and they do optics and microscopes and so on. This was owned by University of Tasmania. It was bought for a very reasonable price by Ian, and he's given it to me as a free gift, and I'm just absolutely blown away. I think this thing's worth more than any other machine in my workshop, probably more than any 2 other machines in my workshop. It's just so beautifully made. It's in such good condition. I love the machine. I've hardly been able to use it and play with it. I'll just give you the basics of what I know. It has a weight table here that you can load with. It has a 300 gram weight, but you can go up to I think 1 kilogram with this machine. It has a diamond point that gets pressed down into the workpiece, and you swing these positions around and you turn it to the microscope setting, and it has a toolmaker's microscope. So you can do a direct reading of the hardness based on the size of the diamond indentation in your workpiece. Now, it being a micro hardness tester, it makes a very, very small indentation, and it uses small weights. So it uses a very fine diamond that's about $300 just for the diamond. But you can measure, with Vickers, you can measure a wider range of hardness than any of the Rockwell bands, and I think that makes it a very useful scale. I'm familiar with Rockwell C more than anything, so I know what Rockwell 60 means. Rockwell C 60 means something to me, but I don't have any kind of familiarity with the Vickers numbers. But having this in the workshop, in the clean room, and being able to do heat treatments in the forge and surface grinding on the new tool and cutter grinder, and then inspecting the hardness of the parts involved and making sure my tempering went right and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a really powerful combination of tools, and I'm just blown away by the amount of generosity of some of my viewers. Ian, this is a gem of a machine. It's just such a gorgeous machine. It's made so nicely. It's really heavy, and it comes in this velvet-lined box with all the sort of remote articulated plungers for actuation, and it comes with the original oil and dropper so that you can service the plunger, which is the damping motion that controls the rate of descent of the weight and the diamond. I just find that sort of thing amazing. All I can say is I just feel extremely lucky, and this is not going to go to waste. I will look after this. I'm probably going to put it back in this box until this room is built out clean and dust free and really ready to use as a clean room, because this machine deserves it. I'll probably tuck this away and forget it exists for a couple of months, come back to it and do a nice video that everybody can benefit from. just pure coincidence that Stefan's hardness tester video came out. I received this a few days before he got that video out, and I didn't know he was going to do one. So I'll give it a month or two for multiple reasons before I do a video on this. I'm in no way competing with Stefan. He's one of my, without knowing it, he's one of my mentors, and I watch his videos and learn a lot. So yeah, he's a brilliant guy. But I'll do my best with this machine, and I'll try and make sure that we can see how it works, and I'll try and, like he did, I'll try and do a hardness measurement of everything in the shop. Okay, well I reckon this episode might be dragging on a bit now because there's just been so much news that it's taken that long to describe it all. I feel like this channel has gone into a sort of hiatus because there just hasn't been any machining done for I don't know how long. I've been working on the actual workshop itself, and I'm talking about the wall and the brickwork and the concrete and stuff, and then getting new things in and rehoming them. Done a couple of projects that are IT work, and that doesn't belong on this channel. So I bet you're all itching to see some chips fly. Well, so am I. And you know, I'm building the biggest project on my plate is building a workshop, and I'm getting there gradually. Everything is running slower than I'd like, and I would like to have been up and running with the framing and all that stuff by now, and it's just with new doggo and all the rest, it's taking it out of me, and I'm just going to chip away at it. And yeah, this is real life, so you get to see exactly what's going on here. There's no team of people behind me to help me get stuff done. Maybe when I get a few sponsors. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.